Hey, good evening, everyone. And tonight, we have yours truly, Miss Nikki here, and
Hello.
myself. And welcome everyone in the chat. Tonight, we're going to discuss blended families. And before we get into it, just want to say, how you doing, Nikki?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. How's everything going?
Wonderful. Thank God we had this 4 day week. He gave me an extra day, I think. But I was all thrown off because I thought Tuesday was Monday. So getting closer and closer to Friday. So I'm good.
Great. I see you got the glasses popping
Yeah.
tonight.
Just a little
That's
something.
good.
A little something.
So, you know, uh, uh, because it's the beginning of the show, and I know that everybody that's going to join us hopefully will join us eventually. I know that you wanted to let people know about every Wednesday night.
Right. So every Wednesday night at about 8:30, we will be going on live, discussing different relationship issues, life issues, family, uh, anything that pertains to us. And so, and to everybody out there that's watching. So
So you're going to try to do this every Wednesday.
every Wednesday at
Great,
about 8:30, same time.
great, great. Just
Yeah.
it's important for us to like I always try to encourage everyone, definitely on YouTube, to like, share, and subscribe. That when you do subscribe, that you hit the bell button so that you get the alert that you know we went live. Sometimes just by subscribing, it'll pop up late, a half an hour or 45 minutes to let you
Right.
know we did a show. So I know a lot of people think it's I want to be part of the show. I really so so this allows you to know that you're be on for we're gonna
You're
have
freezing up a
special
little
guests.
bit, Quentin.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, the reception.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. So just bear with me. Could you hear
Hmm.
me?
I can hear you now. Now you're unfroze.
Yeah, just with the storm, just a little crazy.
Oh, okay. It's storming up there.
Yeah,
It's supposed to start raining, I think, tonight here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tonight we wanted to discuss blended families.
Let's
I'm still
go.
freezing up.
No, you're perfect.
Okay. So what made you decide that this would be a good topic for us to discuss with understanding the intricacies of blended families?
Well, after the first couple of shows, I got a lot of requests to discuss the blended family. I think it's something that pertains to everybody. At one point in time, it pertained to myself. So, with that being said, I think that everybody's idea of what it is or what it should be is different. And good evening. I just wanted to say hey. So, I wanted to make sure that everyone uh, had an opportunity to discuss maybe what their unique blended family was. Perhaps give insight, a different perception of what a blended family could be. It's a very difficult thing, but then sometimes it could be a very wonderful thing. So I think that was the whole purpose.
Yeah, because those of us of a certain age, we grew up on the reruns of the Brady Bunch, and the Brady
Right.
Bunch was, I guess, America's way of showing a blended family, a big blended family on
Mm-hmm.
TV, and giving us that imagery and some of the complexities even in the show back then were common even
Right.
now, and it allows us to have this discussion and talk about how some of the issues with the blended families. Those in the chat, if you've been a part of a blended family or you are personally a part of a blended family now, um, share some of your experiences, because I think that we all can learn from why we are in why some of the as we would say, difficulties of being in a blended family. I know that a lot of us who have children
Mm-hmm.
won't even date until the children get older, because they
I,
feel like, oh, I don't want to mix my children with people. I want to wait until my children or my child graduates high school and then I'm gonna start dating again. Or I don't want to get serious about nobody because I don't want to bring no man or no woman around my child because they're used to the other parent.
I think it's important that I was looking at some of the statistics that you and I looked up. And one of the things is that children at a young age now are really experiencing the separations. And I mean, divorce has been happening for years, but it's more common now, of course. Single parent households, blended households. But I think now children are really experiencing it younger. And so for myself, uh, I've experienced it with my own children, and yeah, that's my bonus right there. And so I've experienced it, and I think that it's important that when we do start dating, that uh, we do what feels right for us, what feels comfortable. Some people are not um, as likely to bring somebody around their kids right away. It takes some
Hmm.
time. Others like to wait until the situation is serious and they know that they're going to take the next step. So I think everyone has to do what works well for them and what's comfortable for them. And I think as parents and individuals, what we also need to do is trust that our partner, is going to have someone that's around our children that is a person that's going to protect them and nurture them and care for them like their own. And if you don't feel comfortable, to me personally, with somebody like that, then I don't me. I couldn't really necessarily have them, around my
For
children if
the
I
for
didn't.
the sake of the show, we just going to just I'm gonna just read some, give some context on it. Family life is changing. Two-parent households are on a decline in the United States as divorce, remarriage, and cohabitation are on the rise. And families are small now, both due to the growth of the single-parent households and the drop in fertility, which is
Mm,
interesting. Not only are Americans having fewer children, but the circumstances surrounding parenthood have changed. While in the early 60s, babies typically arrive within a marriage, today fully 4 in 10 births occur to women who are single or living with a non marital partner.
mm,
At the same time, that family structures has transformed. So has the role of the mothers in the workplace and in the home. As many moms have entered the labor force, more have become breadwinners, in many cases, primary breadwinners in their families.
mm. Yeah,
So,
so the
go ahead.
blended thing, it's common. I think when we start talking about blended though, um we have to make sure that we understand what our definition is, and we have to make sure that the person that we're with, they understand what their definition is. I mean, like you said, when we start talking about the Brady Bunch, you bring in one set of kids with another set of kids, and in order to make sure that we have healthy, productive adults in society, I think it's like really crucial when you start blending these families that you take a lot of things into
So
consideration.
let me ask you. I wrote down a couple things where we could discuss, um, and I want to know if anybody in the chat as well as you, Nikki, because you explained that you have been in that situation,
Hmm.
how some of the difficulties or some of the obstacles that you may face. Let's talk about spending time with your particular child. Say like all the children are together, and
Mm-hmm.
your child wants your time.
Mm.
I know that you have two girls, and your child may
Right.
want your time, and you may not be spending as much time with your child as you do the other child because they may be younger or they may be older, going through some life changing experiences that all young adults go through.
Right. I think it's important to understand that. So in the case of divorce, let's just say it's a two parent and it was a divorce, that the children that are your children, especially if you're the mother or if you're, let's just say, the custodial parent, they're going to spend the most time with you at your home. And so when, let's say, your bonus children come to visit, I personally believe that all of the children should be treated equally. I feel like if you have the means, the finances, or the resources to make sure that your bonus children come to the house and they have somewhere that's personal for them, themselves to sleep, stay, whatever. I feel like if you have that resource, if you have those means, then I think that you should make accommodations for your bonus children too. I think that's the beauty about being what they say a bonus parent, is that you can make sure that you're helping. It's like what they used to say, it takes a village.
Hmm.
So those things, but the other parent has to be open and receptive to it. I
So let
think.
me let me ask you, and let me ask you guys in the chat. And I know that Nikki, you're talking about like the divorce. So let's just say the divorce or separation if the parents were not married.
Mm,
Now they're not together, and the other one of them is choosing to date.
mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is where some of the difficulties. You always hear this with a lot of people be like, I ain't with nobody dealing with nobody because I don't want to deal with their baby mama drama, or
Mm-hmm.
overprotective baby father, or that, you know what do you think is the cause of that? Like, if you chose to have a baby with this person, you should also be able to respect their decisions with who they choose to deal with after you.
Right. I think that is a that's an adult thing. So I think that all of the adult parties involved should really pretty much come to the table and put out their expectations about what they intend to accomplish. Because the thing is that if you're not getting married or living with this person, or you don't see this person long term, I think that then it becomes sticky. It becomes one of those tricky things. But if you're with this person long term, then I think that you should respect the beliefs of your spouse or your mate. Uh, I do believe both parents should actually have some say so in the matter. But I think what really ends up happening is that a lot of people don't have respect for one another as adults. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
so the reason you don't have to read it, I could read it. Just you can finish your thought. The reason why I asked that because a lot of times you'll hear someone that will literally say like, and it's like, okay, you trusted this individual to help you bring a life into this world. Now you don't trust, or why are you so concerned about what they got going on? Y'all
I
ain't
don't think
together.
it's so much is that they're concerned about what they have going on, so much as that I want to make sure the person that you have around my children is has not even a like mindset, but has a decent mindset or a mind frame. I think that it's important that I know what values they're bringing to the relationship. You can't
So
just
so
it's a
allow us to
value
role.
thing.
So allow me and yourself to role play, and we're gonna
Let's
allow the
go.
chat. We're gonna allow the chat to play along.
Let's go.
Who I got around our children is none of your business. They my children as well, and I'm gonna do what I got to do to protect them.
No, 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 no. See, you're a man, I'm a woman. There's a difference in the way that we
No,
think, and
no, no.
everybody knows that.
Let's.
So,
But a lot of times, certain situations is not every divorce or every breakup is not as
right,
amicable as we would try to make it to be,
right.
for the sake of acting as mature adults.
Well, I think
So,
adults need to. This
so
my
you
opinion. Take your feelings out of it. Take your feelings
okay?
out of it. If you want
You
what's best for your child, take your feelings out of it.
okay? You're the custodial parent.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my daughters, and they with me on the weekend. Who I choose to have them around is none of your business.
Mm. I think if it's a permanent person and that person is around on a regular, yeah,
But see,
it's my business.
I'm being now for the chat. We're role playing,
Oh, I get it.
but Nikki, it's none of your business. It's none of your
Mm,
business
mm,
because I
mm-mm,
am the other parent that you made
mm-mm.
these children with, and
Oh,
as
we're gonna
long as
disagree
you know that I got them, why should you be worried about who I deal with? That's not
because
your
it's not
concern.
about you and your decisions. It's see, here's the thing: when you start dating people, you don't know people's backgrounds. You don't know people's upbringing. You don't know how they raise their kids. You don't know their belief system. There are a lot of things that come when we all sit down and let's just say we all have kids, right? So when we first decide, okay, yeah, we're going to become a mom, we're going to become a dad, everybody has an idea in their head about how they feel they want to raise their kids. As soon as you have your kids, you're like, I'm gonna raise my kids uh, with a dad or maybe two parent household. You're gonna have an idea about how you want to raise your kids. Your household is your household. However, it may not be none of my business, but I need to make sure at least. And this is when we're talking about moving to the next step. Now, dating and things, I will hope and trust that the people that you date and bring around my children will be decent.
But let me ask you now. We got our divorce, um, and we're amicable. You trust me, and you know that I'll never let nothing happen to our children. but we're having this conversation that we done moved on. You whatever you got going on, I don't even ask. That's not
Mm-hmm.
my concern because we're not together. But now you see an old girl who giving you attitude when she in the car when I'm coming to pick up my daughters.
Then she's
She
ignorant, and I
no, she
suggest you find
she's
another. She's ignorant
she's
because
just
why you
not
gonna give
she
me attitude? I'm the mother of your kids.
but
That's
she's
stupid.
no, she's not giving you attitude. She's just not as friendly because maybe she been in a bad situation like the blended family. So
That's
now she
not why
giving you
she
all
got an attitude. She got an attitude because of what you previously told her
uh,
about the
and
relationship.
I agree that that's where a lot of the BS does come in
Yeah, that's why she got an attitude.
because she don't know you or he don't know me. So
But that
what you put
right.
out there is what people going to
And that's none of
think.
their business. The only thing I think that really matters is how the mom and the dad parent. And so if you are deciding to bring somebody else around my child, I need to meet this person. I need to understand how they
Why?
think. Why? Because are you
But that's
taking it to
not.
the next step?
But with all due respect, Nikki, that's not your concern.
No, but are you going to the next step?
These are my babies.
No, 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 no. See, and I think that's where we get it all messed up. That yeah,
Look,
you may
I
feel
don't want
like
to know.
that.
I don't want to know who old boy is. I'm not feeling him.
You wouldn't know. Okay,
But
so
look, I really don't even want him around my daughters. But I trust you, so you ain't got to know who she is.
but here's the problem. I think that people should want to know who old boy or old girl is. You should want to know them intimately. You
No,
should want to know them immediately. If you
I
have,
don't want to know him because I trust you. But I don't want. I know that you're gonna protect our daughters regardless. But I don't want to know him.
you want to trust me, but see now, and when it comes to the man thing, I think all men in general should want to know who and who their children are around.
No, no. It's not that I don't care who they around. It's that you are their mother.
Mm-hmm.
We were married.
But we divorced, so it's the reason
We di-
why I divorced you.
we divorced. We got it, but we don't put our personal business in how we parent.
But it's
However,
the
at the
reason we
end,
divorced, though. We couldn't agree somewhere.
we
So if
couldn't
we
agree.
couldn't agree,
We couldn't agree. But I'm not. I shouldn't be so much in your business where I want to know. I trust you. We laid down and we
nah.
made those kids. I trust you. You're the custodial parent. I don't want to know who Jeff is. I don't
But
want to
this is
meet
what I'm
Jeff.
saying. You don't,
I,
some people don't want to know, but me personally, that's their business. I personally believe you should know. You should want to know who is,
next thing you gonna be talking about bringing him over, invite so we can have tea and donuts.
and we should.
No, we
That's
shouldn't.
my opinion.
No,
Yes,
we
we
shouldn't.
should. Unless, now see, this is where I said adults got to take their personal feelings out of it. Unless it was the person that you got caught like saying that was the reason for the divorce. And I think that if that's the case, at some point you need to go get therapy because if it's the
Oh,
person,
so now we talking about one of us that stepped out,
yeah, let's just
and
say
that's the
that's the
reason.
case
Okay.
for this blended family. Somebody has stepped out of the marital situation. I think, no, I'm not going. I know as adults, at some point, if you really want your children to be healthy, functioning adults, then you should get over your personal feelings and learn how to co-parent. You
I
you
know
have
that.
to.
I know that we. I'm constantly looking in the chat while we're having this discussion. I know that the person right here said that's too much, and they also said that they didn't want to deal with that. I have a friend that I grew up with. Before he got married, we were in our 30s, and he wouldn't even date. He wouldn't even date a female that had kids. He
Mhm.
dated one female that had kids, and it was a bad experience with baby daddy. And he looked at me. He said, "Never again. I will."
Right.
And he never did it again. He got married. His wife that he got married to didn't have any children, and he was like, "Never, never, under no circumstances."
Right. Because I think as individuals, we need to know what it is that we can and cannot deal with. Um, for me, I've had bonus children. I've had a marital situation, and I have two daughters. I absolutely adore my bonus son. I did. It brought something different to our environment. I think that but with the bonus son,
I'm gonna ask you, and not to be too much into your personal business, but did you feel like the bonus son was like the son you never had?
yeah, because he was a really good kid. Like when he was younger, still just, a really, even now to this day, you know, gives me hugs, just a very loving person. I think a lot of that has to do with the mom, though, because it's how you raise your kids. She didn't have an issue with me. I never had an issue with her. It was so much so that she remarried. She's married, and I think her husband and me, like I can go over there. He's wonderful, and this is a relationship that I still keep to this day with her, with the husband, and over. And I grew up actually in a blended family, so it was a unique experience in which my grandfather remarried when I was very young, but my I wouldn't say step grandmother, but my bonus grandma, she's been around since I was 7, and our family situation was so unique in that my grandmother and my step grandmother, we all got together on holidays. My grandmother was at every function. They would trade what is it, skin, like not skin thing, but medications when older people get older. Oh, this works for my arthritis, and we have them all in the house. And on top of that, on top of that, the step grandma, her kids in turn took my grandmother, they love my grandmother the same like their grandmother. So I think it's all in how the spouse does it. My grandfather made it very
let me
clear.
ask you, and I know it didn't apply to your circumstances. Anybody in the chat that has been in what I'm about to say, please, if you don't mind sharing, let us know. What happens if the child don't like the new step parent? Let's say that, for like a better
Let's
word,
hope they
stepchild.
tell you early in the game.
Because it let me explain what happened in the situation that I was in. Is I wasn't the custodial parent, and my son didn't live with me, but I was living around other children at the time.
That's an issue.
So it was a lot of issues with time. Like, and I used to be like, well, they live with me, so of course, naturally, I'm gonna spend more time
Hmm.
with them.
That happens for a lot of men. That's a very big thing,
So then
and I
it
think
and then
mi-
it caused a lot of
animosity or
not
issues.
not not miscommunication,
Hmm.
until like really on my part I had to really get some consultation from some elders, and
Hmm.
really be like, enough's enough. Like,
Hmm.
enough with the games. This is what's gonna happen. And if don't nobody like it, too bad. You kind of like gotta put your foot down.
Right.
Because it'd be a lot of little games that goes on, or a lot of little slick comments, and
Right.
you
Well,
know, s-
focusing on the positive aspect of it. So let's just say, you do have children, because a lot of men experience that when they get a divorce. They experience their children living somewhere else, and then they remarry or they get with somebody and they have children. And then they have, like, from the friends that I've talked to, they feel some type of guilt behind that, because they're like, I'm over here with their kids every day, but I don't get a chance to see my own kids and interact with my own children.
so Nikki, we're gonna go through the chat, and then we're gonna talk to the our our audience, the people that decided to join the conversation. Nicole said, "I have 3 brothers and 2 have multiple baby mothers. At one point, I did not want to deal with a guy who had kids. As I got older, unfortunately, it is very rare to find a guy of a certain
Right.
age without children." Yeah,
It's
and I
true.
understand exactly what Nicole's saying. Like, you can't continue to be like, you know what, I ain't gonna be dating this anybody, and then, like, what me and you always discuss, and Keisha, is the pool is not like it's big. It starts getting
No.
shorter and shorter with the type of man or
Hmm.
female that people prefer to deal with. And then
Right.
when you say, I'm not going to deal with people that got kids, now you done made that pool even smaller, just because, like Nicole, she witnesses with her brothers the dynamics of the
It's
drama.
a lot. I think what needs to happen too, and I'm coming from a woman's perspective, okay? Because I'm traditional in a lot of my values. So I think what needs to happen on a man's end, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think at some point you guys need to just say, no, enough is enough. This is it, and this is how I'm choosing to handle this. I think a lot of times, um, uh, and from what I'm noticing, sometimes men feel like they are powerless in the situation and they really don't want to ruffle too many feathers. And I think it's important to know that you have a voice and that you're heard, and that, you know, some of your things will be listened to. But I think a lot of times, from my personal experiences, the men are the ones who could have pumped the brakes on the whole situation, shut it down, and said, this is what it's going to be. Because if you say, look, I'm not going to do this back and forth between the two, this is what time I'm going to have my children, this is what we're going to do, then at some point it has no choice but to flow.
Well, well, first you're right. I do believe that a lot of men. First of all, it can't be no little sneak little booty going on. That
Right.
that
That's
that got to
very
stop
important.
because that be going on in a lot of situations. Can't be no
Yep.
little sneak little tail going on.
Yep.
Then on top of that, the man does need to step up and be like, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes the ruffling the feathers is the issue. Be like, you know what, I don't want to cause no problems. She don't take me to child support yet. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give her leeway on certain issues.
Mm-mm.
Or
Mm-mm.
she may feel the same way. She may be like manipulating the situation and throwing child support over his head. So sometimes, as they say, when are the adults gonna step in the room?
Yeah, I think
Somebody
people
needs to
need to
step
grow
up.
up. Grow up. Because it's not a benefit to it for you. If you're mad, you got issues, you have some resentment, me personally, move forward with your life, make it better. Okay, but you have to make sure that your children feel like they don't have to choose between the two parents. You
King
know?
said, King said, my son was cool, but my one daughter caused issue until I checked her. See
Yeah.
now that's even something because as a man dealing with a daughter, he he probably had to deal with her a little bit delicately, but he checked her. I mean, and like you said, sometimes we as the parents don't want to put our foot down on our children. Be like, you know, that's my child. I'm bringing them into this situation. We automatically think it's going to be difficult. When in all actuality, it's not difficult. You just need to be the parent at the
I think
time.
men, my personal opinion, men and their daughters is a whole nother subject. I think that when you have these blended families, it's one thing with men and their boys, but I think men, real dads, if you want to say fathers, dads, daddies that have a really good relationship with their girls, or just a decent one, to some extent, y'all worship these little girls, and I've dealt with them, and when they go through that puberty and that teen phase, they're a little stank. What my mom used to call it, you smelling yourself. And when you are in a blended family and you have a young teenage girl, um, that's a real sticky one. Now, from my end, I didn't get my daughters didn't do it, but I can tell you that a lot of times the girls with the dads have this thing where they kind of like worship these little girls, and no, your princess got an attitude and she's a little nasty, and so
And as they say, like, for example, I got a daughter,
mhm,
and she being sassy with you. How would you
mm-mm,
handle that?
you need to check your daughter. See, if we're
So
together,
so you would
if I'm in a
automatically come. You
relationship,
would automatically tell me when I got off work or whatever. You'd be like, listen, you got to check your daughter. Why wouldn't you check her?
well, it depends on the nature of the relationship. See, I didn't have a problem checking my bonus son. I never had a problem. That was something off the gate that his mom and I discussed. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had way ahead of time. What I find now is a lot of people end up worshiping their children. They think the sun rises and sets on these kids and that they can't be corrected. Half the time, the regular parents, you know, the biological parents don't want to check them.
And
And
one of
then you want me to deal with you and your disrespectful child? Nah, it's not
I
going to
gotta
happen.
I gotta I gotta think of a name for Kenya because I used to it's a friend that's in the group that she's always in the chat as well. I called her the MVP, but slowly but surely have to find a name for Kenya because her comments would just be hilarious. Here she go. My first husband married to jump off, and my daughter and the wife relationship has been strained from day one.
Yeah,
Woo,
yeah.
woo,
Mm-hmm. Come on
woo.
now, think about it, because and that's when I think too, adults need to stop telling the kids all their business, or you know, when you're having arguments or fights or whatever it is you're having with your other, you know, their father or their parent, your kids shouldn't be privy to any of that. Why do your kids know who this and that and that? And then, like you said, You think as a child that I'm going to be okay with my dad's wife, even though it's really technically none of my business. As a child, I will grow out of that home, move, become an adult, and move on. However, what ends up happening is now you have these kids who are going to have these issues when they become adults because the relationship that they when now they're going to have to go lay on the couch. Like it's just so much.
So I'm gonna ask everybody in the chat, what do you do when like I said, the divorce and the separation was bitter? I
Mm.
mean bitter. Like, it got to be in courts, because when you start dealing with the courts, visitation rights,
Everybody gets
you
better.
you really don't have no say so over who your ex deal with.
Hmm.
So at a certain point, you have to get to a point, even and them judges will tell you, y'all gonna be civil, because he got him on the weekends from this time, from Friday 7 o'clock at night, and he got to bring him back Sunday. Don't bother him. Don't drop them off back early, buddy. And that's just the way you got to deal
And
with
I
it.
think it's just really unfortunate that it even has to get to that point. As adults, and I keep saying as adults, but then I forget everybody the same way. Why? Why would you want to make this difficult? I mean, you should feel a little bit of relief. You get your free weekend every other weekend. Um, I just have this. It just became one of those things where it's like, all right, look, I I don't really care. I just want to know. For the longest, um, my ex husband never told me who his potential mate was, and
I'm gonna ask you a question. Why do you think he didn't say anything?
for they were dating, and he kept giving her nicknames, and I laughed because I was like, who is this person? And our divorce, it was fairly easy, you know. It was just one of those things, you get older, you grow apart, but uh he kept giving her nicknames, and they're going over to the kids. The kids are going over to the house, and they're saying, Miss blah blah, whatever. And I'm like, who is this person? Now I did give him so fine. I knew he was dating somebody. Well, it's because someone I knew, and it's someone that was his coworker, which is fine. I mean, because if it did happen or didn't happen, why we got it's none of my
It
business.
was fine. I'm gonna ask you. It was fine on your part because you didn't leave anything left on the table.
Right.
Far as once y'all were separated, divorced, you didn't have no hangups. You didn't. It wasn't no tails going on the backside, and uh no other issues. This is where the issues come at, because you were at peace with the breakup. You didn't
Right.
have that hang up to be like, who he messing with, and you know sneak
Right.
tip
But
stalking, asking your daughters like, what she look like, is she ugly, is she cute, like.
you just brought up a really good point though, and this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is in our heads as individuals. Once we get this divorce, or once we split, some people do this comparison thing in their head. And so when you start doing the comparison, well, what was it that make this person do this or make this person do that? I think we need to take ourselves out of that equation, stop doing that comparison. Because, what is it, like 7 billion people on the earth? It's like billions of people on this earth. So when you look at it, you may not be the perfect fit for that person. And it could be absolutely nothing wrong with you. But it just could be time. It could be compatibility, it could be chemistry, it could be whatever. It could be that that person needs that person for whatever. So that comparison thing, when we take that out of our heads and we say, okay, it didn't work, whether they are a model, whether they're not a model, who cares? The whole point is making sure that these kids can grow and flourish. That's it.
So Nicole said, yes, keep your business to yourself. I have seen instances where the female says whatever, but then later wonder why the kids are not showing respect. And that, like you said, how they're parented, and then what the kids see, far as whether it's
The-
any bitterness or any, whether it was amicable or not, the breakup, that the kids kind of like sense what's going on. They sense the animosity. One of the things that I wanted to ask you was, and I don't know if this was in your case, and I can ask people in the chat to answer this question as well. A lot of times when it comes to divorce, the the kids blame a particular parent, even if the parents kept the kids out their business on why they really got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I've seen situations where one parent was blamed, and then as they got older and found out the real reason, they'd be like, "Oh, well, I held resentment for 15, 20
Right.
years, and then I didn't know my father had another family on the other side of
Right.
town.
Right. I
My
think
mom broke up a perfect family. We had a house when we was with daddy. We had this, but now we live in an apartment. She's always at work trying to pay bills. So I don't like my mother no more. She's struggling.
hmm
She's struggling.
hmm
I don't have those same sneakers I used to have to. It used to be different. I used to come home. Mom used to make all my lunch, make my dinner. She was a housewife. Now she's out
hmm
being the breadwinner, and I blame her for the divorce. But as an adult or a younger child or older child, I mean, I find out that the reason why mom left dad was because he had Susie across the way.
man, that's couch time. I'm gonna just tell you like this. And I think a lot of people, I mean, who has a perfect family? Who, and let's say somebody did cheat. Who has a perfect family? I don't think that has anything, it affects the children, but it's none of the kids' business. I don't think that as a parent, you should give all of the reasons why you and your significant other decided to divorce. That's not for the kids. All that matters after you get a divorce or a separation or whatever is that you need to make sure that you rear these kids. That's
Mm.
it. I was gonna say, what about the people that weren't even divorced? Let's talk about the ones that just decided to have a child, just random child, and they date a couple of years later and they have this child and then they get with somebody else. Let's not even go into the divorce part of
Well, and
it.
that's the case. Like when we read the statistics, that's what's happening. A lot of people are having more children out of wedlock nowadays. And me personally, my son was born out of wedlock, so
Mm.
I would say that we never want to say that we have regrets, but I do think that as an older parent and my son is grown now, I understand why you should be married before you have
Or why
children.
should have to, but it's beautiful in a picture perfect situation, or utopia, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that would be lovely. However, we just looked at the statistics. It doesn't exist. So when it starts coming to these blended families, we need to know. I'm gonna tell you one thing.
And a
One
lot
thing.
of and a lot of women ain't sitting, and I don't want to seem insensitive, but a lot of women ain't sitting at home being no baby makers no more. They ain't sitting around having those 7 to 8 kids, and
They're
then
not.
because they've seen the stories about um he done left after all made all these kids for the woman across town, and she don't have no career. She don't really have nothing because all she did, her job was to rear for her family.
Right.
So you see nowadays, and then you need, based on where you live in this country,
Well,
you
look, think
need a
about it
two
like
income
this.
home.
Think about it like this. And I say this all the time, and I think people don't even want to touch on that. Mr. Joe, that lived down the street with Miss Sally, has 5 kids. This is back in the day. This is in, years and years ago, 60s, 70s, whatever. Miss Joe went around the corner with Betty, and Betty got a set of kids from Mr. Joe, too. Okay. Now, the difference between then and now is that, and it's nothing new under the sun. This has been happening for a long time. The difference is that around the corner, if she wasn't the wife, she kind of knew her place a little bit and she wasn't going to overstep. The wife always knew about old girl around the corner. But in order to save face in her marriage and to save face for the kids in the household and whatever, she made sure that she played her position and played a role to rear kids. Now, when they got older, they could have got a divorce, or she could put them in the basement or whatever. But a lot of people are finding out years later, after they thought they had these perfect families, that they had siblings around the corner or somewhere else. And the thing about it is all about how the older generation went about it. They didn't do like now. People get so mad and bitter. First thing they do is run down to the courthouse. I'm put you on child support. I'm blow your whole spot up. Whatever the case is. It wasn't like that years ago. I think, and I don't know. And the other thing is that Joe had the finances or the resources to float two homes. You can't be out here making a whole bunch of babies and calling yourself one to blend and mix and so forth and so on. It's just like in the Muslim community. I have a lot of friends that I work with, and they come from back home. Their dads had several wives and several different children. The difference is they said, okay, he had all of these kids, but he's taking care of all of them. You can't be out here being a baby daddy and deciding, oh, I'm going to go and fill the world up. A plethora of kids everywhere, but I'm going to take care of them. Nah, old girl around the corner going to have a beef with you if them kids that you living in the house with are faring better than the ones around the corner.
So this is the benefit of us as kids watching Claudine, huh? It was subjective on because when the welfare man showed up, James Earl Jones was out, even though he wasn't the parent, but he was like, oh,
that's the difference. And I think it's so important that kids don't feel slighted, because that comes from parents. You have to, if your kids don't live in a house with you, you need to be very active with those kids that aren't in the house with you. When they come to you, need to make them feel like, that you're not missing a beat. I think it's a way that it can be done, but you have to do it in a way where these kids don't feel like they're missing a beat. And that all comes from good communication.
But let me ask you, Nikki, and I'm gonna ask everybody in the chat. We're all around that age now. I don't know everybody's status or whether anybody's single or not, but just say we're all single, and like you want to be in that situation where you like, it's time to start dating again.
I'm not dating nobody with kids. I'm sorry.
Why not?
Because number one, I have 2 adult children. Now I'm at the stage where I possibly can have grandchildren. And my adult children, no. I get to pick and choose when I want to be, grandma.
So this would be one of the.
I'm talking about little bitty kids, I should say.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with kids. I think a good example. Recently I met somebody and they gave me example. I asked the question, how many children do you have? They're in their 50s. They said, very vague, a teen. A teen? So I said, oh, you got a teen. That was one of my checks. No. So a teen. So I said, don't get embarrassed by a teen now. Well, come to find out, he said he had his first child when he was 17. She was now 35. But he had his last child. That child was 12. Now, I don't know how many he had in between that 35 and that 12, but he said a team. So I don't know if we're talking basketball, football team. I don't know how many members. All I'm going to say is this. At the age that this individual was, and he said he had a team, I feel like you made some decisions later in life. If you already had that team and you still got small kids, that's Xing you out the picture. And I'm talking about small kids. And because to me, it's gonna be a challenge.
I'm gonna ask you a question though. When we talk about the dynamic of the blended family, and you yourself said that a lot of times the men need to step up. The men need to put their foot down and grow a strong set.
Right.
Say if the guy that comes to you, and even Kenya said that she would never date a guy that has children younger than her daughter, which is 20. If he's got strong-willed guy, knows how to take care of his business, very responsible, why would you take him off the market based upon?
Only way. The only way. And
now we got and
no, and here's the thing.
Amendments to your conditions.
And here's the thing. So it's not that, it's just that if my youngest is 21, my oldest is 24. When we're talking like school age children where you gotta do a whole lot, I can, at least for me, and that's just my personal thing, I'm out of that phase. It's got to be some strong, serious love, and it's got to be some real strict standards, guidelines, and a whole bunch of stuff for me. Now, if I was in my 20s and my 30s, it might be a little different. You know, the circumstances would be different. But where I'm at, I'm ready to do things a little, you know, travel, do this, do that. And now we're talking about, okay, I have to do it like this because your situation or your circumstances is this. And I just think for me, it's a little restricting. A lot of people do it if they're really come from a big family and they really enjoy it and they love it and they like it. I think that's excellent if it works for you. Me, you ask me, and I'm gonna tell you flat out,
I think
me.
I've been in all types of different situations. In my experience, my son is 24, and wow, he gonna kick my ass on this one. My son is 25, and it's funny because we had a long conversation today too. But my son is 25, and my relationship with him is so great in my eyes that he kind of knows certain things that I will do and won't do with
Mm-hmm.
my decision making. Because we developed that type of friendship and father son relationship, and I have been in situations where I've dated women with small kids, dated women with grown kids. So I mean, based upon those situations, I would never say never. I won't say I had any bad experiences. Like I told you, my friend's experience was crazy.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
I remember it like it was yesterday. Nikki, like he called me 2:30 in the morning, like, yo,
I
I
can't
need you
do it.
right now.
I can't do it.
He's
And
like,
I
I need
think
you right now.
no. And here's the thing, though. I think we need to also understand that when your kids are used to being in the household with their mom and their
This
dad,
Kenya boy.
yeah, that
You
part
gotta have Jay-Z money.
for me to deal with you with
Hope
small
he ain't got
kids.
Jay-Z's hairstyle.
I like his hairstyle.
Oh boy.
That's me. That's the artist in me. But I love it. It's really eclectic. But anyway, I think that when you have small children and you're dating, it's just going to be a really. But the bigger thing is what people are not understanding. You need to talk to your kids and ask your kids, do they even like the individual? And I think that that's important. A
I'm
lot of
gonna ask you
people
a
don't want to
question.
do that
I'm gonna ask you a question though, and I want people in the chat to chime in because it's real important.
because kids will sniff it
When
out.
because you said the kids thing, you meet. Let's just say a lot of women are very cautious of having men around their daughters, so they may keep that relationship secret for like let's say 6 months. This guy knocks you off of your feet. He checks all the boxes. I mean, he got everything that you want in what a guy and how a gentleman is supposed to treat you.
He's a
Introduce
narcissist.
no.
Something wrong with him.
He ain't no alpha though, right?
Right. Something wrong with him. He's a narcissist. He
No,
about to set
he
you up. Go
treats you
ahead. I'm
he
listening.
treats you with the utmost respect. And he treats you the way that you. He was Mr. Wonderful, the dream guy that every people men dream for the dream female or whatever, and likewise, you finally introduced to your daughter, and you know you got say if you not you, but you got the one daughter, and she's very opinionated,
And I have that one daughter.
and she meets him, and from the door she like,
No.
I don't like his shoes.
Let me tell you something. I have that one daughter, and I wish that one daughter would
She
have
said
given her
6 months is
opinion.
too soon. You think 6 months is
I
too
think it's
soon?
way too soon. I
Huh?
think it's too soon. You're not
I
gonna
didn't
get to know.
say 6 months for. I said 6 months, and y'all been dating,
I don't care. You're
going
not
out,
meeting my child after 6 months.
having relationships, and all this other stuff. And
No, not 6 months. I agree with the person that posted. I think 6 months is. Well, I don't even know if I'm gonna be with you in 6 months. Six
no, I'm just
months?
saying. In 6 months, this guy has done. I mean, you
Nope.
can't even believe how wonderful he is.
Yeah, because it's something wrong with them.
You looking for his shortcomings and can't find them. And we know that nobody's
I think
perfect.
6 months is too way too soon.
So then you say, let's just say a year. In a year, but you know, literally, you have fell in love.
There are some people that say you should introduce them to your children right away. because you need to know whether or not your children are going to click with this individual, and you have wasted your time.
Mm-hmm.
To some degree, I agree with that. And then there are some people that say no, because you need to be sure if that's the person. So I think once you're sure, once you're absolutely positively sure, and this ain't no fly by night or whatever, when you're sure, then
No,
you
I'm
may
saying,
want to.
we passed you. You good? You sure? You sure that this is the one?
If my kids don't like them,
So
and I'm gonna
now,
be
so
so
now,
honest,
so now it's coming to.
no.
I have to introduce them to baby girl. And baby girl, from the door, she going in on the shoes, and then she be like, "I don't like him, ma."
Because it's not really the shoes. It's
Well,
not the
you know,
shoes.
kids are impressionable, so
Kids can say certain things,
he
but
got.
it's not the
She
shoes.
may think he got. Well, you know, let's just say
It
for
could
us,
be
because
something, and I
for us,
take
for the
kids.
sake, we wear wallabies. Say like somebody wears some wallabies, and we might be like, they kids might be like they ugly. Now we style, we may be like, oh, they cute, but the kids may be like they ugly, and then they be like, ma, I don't like him.
I think your kids, if you're well in tune with your kids and your kids are well in tune with you, I think the kids be on to something. That's me.
But let me ask you
You
now,
know
the
the difference
kids.
between.
But no, the reason why I'm asking is because the kids see the happiness when, let's just say David, when mom is on the phone with David, she got this glow. They went on a cruise together. Um, you know, when she speaks about David to my aunt or my father, she, you know, or my brother, you know, it's a glow.
So
It's
let
a
me tell
glow.
you, it's a glow. And if they recognize that mom is happy, and they're gonna want you to be happy, you know. But at the same time,
If they don't like him, it's a no go.
it's a no go. It's a no go. Let me tell you why. The kids want you to be happy. If they feel something or if they see something, they are going to let you know. Well, you would hope they would let you know. Um, I think we don't give our kids as much credit. And the thing about the kids can kind of sniff things out. The younger ones, especially because they're innocent. Um, I think we all know the difference between when our kids are being jerks and just being, spoiled brats versus when they are really like, not feeling this person. Now, I had a situation where one of the kids did not particularly care for me initially. And I think a lot of that we need to discuss how that came from the influence of the mother. That had
Mhm.
nothing to do with me. That was the influence of the other parent. And I think that the parents can sway the decisions of the kids in either direction. You could either kind of say, well, let's go out and hang out, and we can really, but the kids know. And I think it's important too that you know that the person that you pick has your kids' best interests at heart. So let's talk about the good part of it. There are a lot of bonus parents that love their bonus kids just as much, if not more. It's an equal thing for their
Do you
their
think,
kids.
Nikki? Do you think, like I said, anybody in the chat, chime in. We're having this conversation. It's an open conversation. Me and Nikki just happen to be the only two people on the screen, but you guys in the chat,
Right.
you guys help us as much as possible because we in this type of chat, even though we got statistics on blended families and so forth, so on, there is no correct way.
Right.
Um, this is just a bunch of grown folks trying to have a conversation and figure out if we're ever in that situation going forward, how we would best handle it.
Let's
Nikki,
talk about. Go
let me
ahead.
ask you a question though. I don't forgot my thought. Hold on.
I didn't. Let me tell you about this one. So what about
Oh, so
this?
you know my thought now.
Look, nope. I'm thinking about my thought, and you come back. It'll that's that old people brain. It's gonna spark back up a little bit. It's okay. So think about this, and a lot of women can chime in. What if your mate has a baby in this marriage or this union, and you guys decide to work this situation out? I wonder how many women can honestly stay and really assist with this child. Let's say the wife couldn't have kids, and then the husband stepped out.
Gina, my lovely Gina Storm, our friendship has gone on for a year. Happy Friendship Day, Gina. But Gina, talk about your situation if you don't mind. If you don't mind doing the typing, you said you were a blended child.
Yeah, we
So
come
let
from
me
a
so
blended
let me
household.
let me ask you a question, Nikki.
You didn't
What
answer my
happens?
question. You didn't answer
No,
my question.
no, go ahead.
You
Excuse
didn't
me.
answer my question.
Go
I
ahead.
said, what if the significant other steps out, has a child, and now
Oh,
you
now
know about the child?
we talking about a whole different set of
That's a
circumstances.
blend, though. It's
That's
still
a
a blend.
whole new show because
It's a blend, though.
now we do hear about that where it's been a step out situation, and now
It's a blend.
you bring a child into the marriage or let's just say the marriage, because if somebody stay after they're not married, I haven't heard those type of situations. But let's just say somebody steps out, the male steps out to marriage and has a child. I
What
think
if the wife
that's
has a baby by another man and the man decides he's gonna stay?
and it has been like that sometimes. He found out that it's not his kids or he can't have no more kids. And
Right.
but anyway, I think that would be too much to put somebody through. Me personally, I don't think that's fair. That's just my opinion. I mean, if that's what you choose to do, um, I understand. You know,
It's a
when
lot of
you,
women who do it
but
though.
a lot of people have that type of love that they can withstand those type of storms. Um,
Because the child is innocent. It wasn't the child's fault that both of the parents or one of the parents is messed up. So honestly, if my hat is off to the women that have done it, because that's something that is like a plausible, because there are a lot of children that were born in an outside union and outside of the union, and the women have said, okay, these are my children's step or half siblings. And I find that the people that do it have a different kind of spirit with them, because again, it has nothing to do with the actual child, and that's a blended union. That is a union that is unique to its own, but it is still a very much so blended union, blended household, blended family.
I think the blend. Do you think that? I'm gonna ask you, Nikki, and I want people in the chat to chime in on this question. Do you think that most of us have these conversations prior to dating or in the dating phase?
No.
That they just, we've been dating for like 2 3 years. Oh yeah, I met your children, but I never knew your daughter didn't like me, and she never told you that she didn't like me. She just kept it in because maybe she didn't want to share it with her mother.
Mine kept it in.
See, and that's another sort of set of circumstances. It's like we don't we are the type of people who we don't learn from our own mistakes, let alone learn from others' mistakes. And I'm not saying that it is a mistake, but we need to have these. And that was some of the things when I did the research, is that we don't have these interview conversations when the dating process, and like, yo, we, it's feelings there, let's take it a step further. um
Mhm. I
and then,
think
like you always say, you don't really know someone
you
until you live
don't.
with them.
You don't. But I do believe that we have people out here that have really healthy and happy relationships, especially at our age, if they're going into their second and their third marriage, right? Let's say they're going into their second and third marriage and they really are on them and they have a really, really good union. Okay. And then we'll get to this question. But if they have a really good union and they're tight and they have a bond, I think they know, like they're combining their children, they will have a conversation between the two of them about what how they're going to rear their household. Like they're going to be on the same plane. They're going to know if this child asks for something, calls, come over and does something, that this is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to do. They're going to keep communication open with the other parent on the other side. I think a lot of times too, especially in some of the situations I know, uh, the other couple or the one that was left or something like that, they're real bitter and they don't want to meet the other person. But the two that are in that relationship have to have such a really good communication system or be so strong, because that'll make or break you. I think if you're in a relationship and you see that this other child is coming over there doing stuff is destructive, it's messing your household up, I think a lot of times you have to make sure that you guys are on the same page. Nah, this is what we said. And you can't do, like you said, the stuff behind the back. You have to be on the same page. And then me personally, if I'm on the same page with you, I live with you and everything like that, and I have kids, if I'm old school, so I believe that I allow the person to discipline. Here's the other thing: can I discipline your children?
Mm.
That's a whole nother subject. Because if
Let
I
me
can't discipline yours, don't send them to my house.
let me read these couple comments first. Sweet Potato said, if someone cheats and has unprotected sex these days and come home to you and you stay, then you're crazy putting you at risk.
It's
I,
true.
I I will say I agree with you, but sometimes love and being able to like weather the storm, people stay.
They do. They do.
And no, I don't think so either. That's a reference to the conversations. Amen. Hold on.
Yeah. I think if
Gina
you,
said, I married a man 7 years my junior who has three children now, and I have a daughter almost 30, the
ooh,
mother of my famous three grandkids. So Gina, you're a woman of a certain age. She's old. She's our age.
right.
She's in our age group. Gina, you're a woman of a certain age. Is it any dynamics with the grandchildren? Is it any issues that go on with the sibling rivalry? Let us know because these are important talking points that we could all get some information about.
Well, he's seven. She said 7 years her junior. So, he may have younger kids, and that's something that you anticipate if you're with someone that's a little bit younger than you, that they will have small kids.
I want to talk about something, and I had this situation. I know somebody very well that was in this situation, and we're gonna talk about after the breakup prosperity, far as the man or the woman doing 10 times better when they're not with the person that they were just with. So now it was a struggle when me and you were together.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't want our separate ways, and like I'm rolling. You see
Because it
me,
be,
you see me doing my thing, and now it's like, yo, you couldn't even do right when you was with me,
mm-hmm.
and now you doing all this other stuff for this B
Right.
because this
But
is the
when it
stuff we
comes
be
to your
having in our head.
kids, you should want the other person to do good. If your person breaks up with you and y'all was doing bad together, man, look, I don't know who this other chick is, but at the same time, I need a meter because you ain't never did X, Y, and Z. So you should want that other person, like really. And because then that increases your children's quality of living. It increases the things that you can expose them to, the things that you can do with them. Why would you want the other person to do bad? That's not gonna help. We're talking about your whole family, like your lineage, what happens down the line, what happens with your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. You should want them to do well. You shouldn't want them to do bad. That's some old personal stuff. If
So
we're talking
so
about this family, this is a whole
so
family
Nikki, let
unit.
me ask you now as we are people of a certain age, we know how to hindsight is always 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and we already talked about that. We don't have these conversations. Do you think that in the course that we're thinking long term, like what, she must be or he must be really good for that for her or him? Let me fall back and realize, like, what, this is benefiting my children. Like, for example, my son has a stepfather, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think now they're not officially married, but he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally very highly of him,
Right.
and I see how he interacts with my son, and to me, he's a man's man.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that a lot of times people can see that in the middle of all the craziness, so they're thinking like, what? Let me fall back because this got to be the protective. Now, my son, like I said, is grown, but had he not been grown or he been little, like, okay, this guy will protect my child,
I
my
ain't falling
child.
back for nothing. I don't care how the good person is now. That's the thing. I don't know if that's the man thing. I'm not falling back because I'm gonna still be a full throttle parent.
No, I
I'm
don't
going
mean fall
you
back
need
from being a parent. I mean fall
yeah.
back from if you bring extra. Because some people
No.
bring extra drama and be
No,
wanting
I'ma
to,
still be
know too
myself.
much.
And I might come knock on their door. If I have an issue, call the wife, whatever. No, I'm not. I think that all for listen, I used to say when I got a divorce from my husband, that's their dad. Okay. We may not have gotten along, but at the same time, that's their dad. So I would go take my kids when they were younger. If let's just say something, happened when they were younger. That's still their dad. I would take them to go visit this man underneath a bridge because that's their dad. I think that a lot of times we got to take, like I said, take our feelings out of it. How are we going to raise these children? And I know some people that have blended households, and it's beautiful. It works really, really well for them. I came from one. I came from one where everybody got together and did things, and my grandparents showed us this is how it's supposed to be. We've taken trips together. We've had holidays together. I think it comes to a point where, again, how are we going to raise these kids? Now here's one of the things though I have a big issue with. I think when the step parents start getting all of my business now financially, that ain't none of your business. What the other parent does for me and mine, that ain't none of your business. You need to stay in a place as long as he's taking care of your household and it's not coming from your money. What he's doing for me and mine has nothing to do with you. That's a really big issue. I think a man will take care of what he has to take care of, and that's not any of the current wife's business, especially if they're small children. As long as he's making sure your stuff is taken care of and getting paid, what him and that wife have agreed upon, that previous wife, or whatever the kid's mom, whatever they agreed upon for their children, I think sometimes step parents need to take a back seat to that because a lot of times people have agreed on things, that had nothing to do with you. As long
Just
as it
to
ain't messing up your money.
just to reset the show, we're discussing blended families, and I wanted to read this because this is directly affecting the communities that we come from. It said the living arrangements of black children stand in stark contrast to other major racial ethnic groups. The majority, 54%, are living with a single parent. Just 38% are living with two parents, including 22% who are living with two parents who are both in their first marriage. Some 9% are living with remarried parents, and 7% are residing with parents who are cohabitating.
What
Chil-
about,
chil-
come on now? This
ch-
world is so different. What if your mate leaves you? Let's say she goes and has a same sex union. That's something that occurs all the time. So you have to come to grips with maybe that she might have a wife after she was married to you and put your kids in that household with her and her wife. I think that that's something. What
I
if
want to
that's
talk
not your
about
belief?
something that Julia just put up, and it's interesting. And this is one of the key things. Most people have disastrous breakups and never heal and drag that mess into family planning as they move forward. And that, Nikki, from what I've seen with my from experience, is more common than anything. Very rarely I've seen breakups are that are amicable. Breakups are very nasty.
That's a whole nother show though, because we need to understand when we're blending these families, if we're coming from these broken unions or these broken relationships, that's another subject. I think that when we start talking about people coming from disastrous relationships, well, yeah, that's some healing work and that's some things that
and
people
then
need to take care of.
then it might be well. That's not even the case if both of them feel like it was bad. We're talking about just if one feels it's bad, and then you bring that family, and then it's a whole bunch of trust issues. I think. Um,
It still don't have nothing to do with these kids. We blending families. Look, if I get married, I'm gonna tell you like this. My ex is remarried. We both got remarried 6 months apart. Okay. It's so much so that when my daughter bought her house, they came over and they come visit. I take the wife on the tour and I show her different things, because like I said the previous show, when you have kids with somebody, you are stuck with this person for the rest of your life. When she bought a house when she gets married. Um, you know, yeah, what she said.
but let's
When
discuss that because that sweet potato hit on something that most of us fight, and you've hear that I don't know how it is for men, but I happen to have a lot of female friends, from the various groups, and you literally would hear women say like, "I'm not dating, I'm not dating, I'm not," and you'd be
some
like,
of them
"Why?"
don't need a date.
And and they may not tell you they dating because it's some some chemical imbalances going on, but they'll
Don't do
say
that.
like
Don't do that. We
they'll
ain't
just say
there.
like they'll
They
just
doing
say
some
like
healing work.
they do say like dudes ain't right. I don't want to deal with the baby mama dramas. The type of guy that they're looking for got issues, and it's like why when we say, for lack of better words, I could never tell nobody that they shouldn't date, because who am I to tell somebody how to be happy? If dating is what, if they feel like they want to date and be happy, go for what you know.
I think a
But
lot of people, well, my personal phrase I like to say is I think, and I use that a lot only because you always, nowadays, you got to make sure you tell people that this is your opinion. They don't have to agree with your opinion. So I always use the word I think. And I do that because I understand and I realize that a lot of people do not think the way that I think. They don't believe the things that I believe. But yeah, there are some people they just need to take a break. They need to tap out from dating. They need to get themselves together.
Julia said something key. She said, "Yes, healing is key because the health of relationship between the parents affect the children."
Yeah. Well, I think it affects the children prior to. So me personally, if you know you're in a raggedy marriage and you sleep upstairs and your spouse sleep downstairs and you got these kids in here, that's an unhealthy environment in itself. So I think if you know that your environment for your children is unhealthy, I would much rather separate from that, find me a blended union. And my kids, let me tell you, when I separated, it was the funniest thing because I was one of those people. I really want my kids to be in one household, the household with their original dad and me. I wanted that. That was what I wanted. However, life happens. So I was distraught a little bit. So I asked the kids a couple months, after I had moved and everything, and I asked them. I said, "So how are you guys? How is everything going? How do you feel?" It all depends on how they see, because like you said, you got two kids, two different, the same environment, they're going to view it different. And so my oldest, who is so funny, because now they're going from their dads to my house, their dads to my house. And I was just really concerned, but I would much rather have them in a happy environment than to see that mom and dad don't necessarily agree on things or that the environment is crazy. So I asked the oldest, I said, "Well, how do you feel about, going to your dad's and then coming here?" She said, "Man, this is like the best thing ever. I get two Christmases, two birthdays." She was like, "I get like everything double." And it was so funny because I never thought about it like that. But the way she put it out there, she was like, she said, "What took y'all so long to separate?" I lie to you not. She said, "What took you so long to separate?" She said, "Y'all should have been did this." She was like, "Because I'm getting like the best of everything because you're going to they're going to their house, they get stuff, they come in here, they see that I'm happy, he's happy, and it just made for a better environment." They
Mm,
knew. They knew. So the blended family that they have now with their dad and their step siblings, it's like they go to family events together. Their sister is like their sister. It's no stepsister. They have really so much so that I think that their stepsister is absolutely adorable. I think she's a nice young lady and she's funny, good spirited. But I don't have an issue with him moving on, and he doesn't have. So I think it's all in how we do it. And like you said, people want to heal, but really take a moment to sit and realize you think your kids don't see that. So again, moving them to an environment where you have these blended unions, and they see that mom's happy and dad is happy. That is so much more important than you trying to hold on. Well, everybody don't believe like me, but
well, yeah,
that
because
original
what you
union.
said, what you just said, what you were about to say is a lot of people will hold on for the sake of the kids
Yeah.
and be 15, 20, 30, 40 years of being miserable.
Messing them kids up. You know how many people that grew up and their parents are still together, and they be like, "My daddy should have divorced my mom a long time ago, or my mama should have, or they shouldn't even be together." And so their idea of what marriage and happiness is a little warped. Yeah, they see where it has lasted. However, they can see, had my dad not been here or my mom not been here, then my life would be a little bit different. And
Hmm.
sometimes they'll get into dysfunctional situations.
Hmm. So I think we touched on every aspect of it. I mean, I'm quite sure it's more that we might have left, but I think we kind of covered the issue well enough, and we had a good chat. And I hope that anybody that's in that situation or has been in that situation has benefited from the conversation. Like I said, one of the things for me um, is that we do need to have these conversations more, and definitely need to have these conversations, as they say, in the interview process. Because I think
Hmm.
sometimes, like you said, Nikki, at a certain point, we need to realize that the kids are paramount instead of
Exactly.
us being so selfish and so concerned about how we feel.
Right.
We need to understand it. Definitely, if those children are smaller, you have a lot of circumstances, and you bring the wrong person in your household, it could
Hmm.
destroy your family.
Hmm.
So, any final thoughts, young lady?
None. I just think that, like you said, when it comes to blending these families, when it comes to the children, you take yourself out of that equation. You want what's best. The job as a parent is to make sure that your kids, you know get everything they need, emotionally, physically, financially, mentally. Those are the things that we want to give our children. And if it means that you have to blend and make them happy, I said go for it. But you want to always make sure that you include them, and that even your stepkids, make sure your stepkids have open communication with you at all.
For those that wasn't part of the show when we first started, just to give you guys a programming note, is that every Wednesday at 8:30, myself and Nikki will be doing a show together. She usually picks the topic. Um, they're not limited to just
Yeah.
family or relationship issues. We'll discuss anything that we think, or she thinks, or you guys think would be
Hmm.
interesting for anybody to discuss. You could always inbox myself, email me at ltalk5600 at gmail.com, or get in touch with darling Nikki through her social media sites. And we would appreciate everybody in the chat to be part of the discussion, and to be able, for us
Yes.
as mature adults, to have these type of dialogue, so we could try to figure things out. Because based on those statistics, and we know that everybody doesn't believe in the conventional marriage or relationship or parenting. However, those numbers declining is an indicator on what our society is about. And I'm not saying we're trying to
Hmm.
change the society, but we need to stop doing things trial by error, sort of say.
Right.
With
And we want
that,
to build
until
strong
next time.
communities, strong Black communities. And I mean, strong communities in general, but I'm Black. So, hey, there it is. And we want to make sure that our kids are getting the best that they can get. So, and again, I welcome all opinions. I think that it's important that we understand that everybody comes from all different walks of life. We're not going to always agree on everything, but um, any different perspectives or insight, it's always welcome. So that's that.
With that, appreciate you guys in the chat. Remember,
Yes.
if you're on Facebook, make sure you hit the love emoji, and if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe,
And the
share.
bell.
Make sure you hit the bell so you get the
The
alert when we're
bell.
having. Like I said, Nikki and myself will be doing a show every Wednesday at 8:30 going forward, and also it'll be other times where she decides to want to come on, and we'll do other shows, as well as the other programming that we got going on with the channel. Like I said, every show may not be for you.
Right.
However, we try to do something that is for you. um with that, have a great night, and until next time,
Good night.
take care.
Good.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please continue to join us here for conversations on hot topics, interviews with special guests, and our featured programs such as the Poetry Corner, where you can hear dope poets from around the country creating that poet cafe vibe, and Crown Rules, our virtual book club on love, intimacy, and healthy relationships. Let's talk. We are everywhere you want to be. Follow us on YouTube at Let's Talk, Facebook at Let's Talk, and on Instagram at Let's Talk 1931. Have a suggestion? Give us a call at 570-795-4283. Or for business inquiries, please email us at ltalk5600 at gmail. Let's talk. I wore to you, you wore to me, and we go together. Please don't forget to like,